Hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Asia. My name is Andrew. Today, again, I will bring to you another episode. Today, we'd like to talk about another Bitcoin characteristic. In my opinion, one of the Bitcoin characteristic is, of course, decentralized. This concept I already explained in the previous video briefly. The difference between centralized and decentralized. Alright, so I used before the example of traditional taxi business versus Uber or Grab car. Alright, so the traditional taxi call center is centralized, whereas when you make every booking, you need to go through the centralized call center, the taxi company, which they issue all the taxi license to the drivers, and pretty much every booking that you made, you have to book with them. Okay, and this is what we call a centralized entity. Uber and Grab car is pretty much the business model. In some way it is decentralized. Generally the passenger can book the drivers through an apps. Alright, although the apps is controlled by the centralized entity, but at least it connect between passenger and driver, so that both of them can deal with each other directly, and if you avoid a lot of issues. Alright, so what is this related to Bitcoin and its unique characteristic? One of the most crucial characteristic of Bitcoin is decentralized. Decentralized means it is if you see to these few points that prepared by me, how does Bitcoin reflect its decentralized characteristic? It is at the few points that I compile here. Bitcoin is not a company. Alright, Bitcoin do not have, there's someone who invented it, but until now we cannot find the founder. Alright, so it equals to literally seems like it is no founder, because no one until now come out to declare that he or she is the founder of Bitcoin. Probably they remain anonymous. And Bitcoin certainly do not have an office, because it is not a company. It do not have any product. It do not have any formal official regulations. It do not have a centralized management team behind it. So of course it do not have middlemen. Every transaction that we made is work behind the consensus system, which is what we call the proof of work consensus. And there's a bunch of volunteers in the Bitcoin ecosystem, all right, which include the miners, which help to maintain the Bitcoin network. Okay, the so-called Bitcoin network actually has a technical name for it, start with BLO something, but I don't want to mention this word because I will tell why later in other video. Because I do not want to promote that keyword too much in my videos unless I have to. Other than Bitcoin miners, there's developers who are constantly volunteer themselves to develop for the project, Bitcoin project, and influencers means the people who volunteer themselves to write article, to give speech, and to do produce videos, etc., to promote the Bitcoin and crypto ecosystem. So what do volunteers means to me? To me is in a way that all these three group of people, as long as most of them, almost all of them, do not really take some kind of salary from a centralized company represent Bitcoin, because it doesn't exist. So I call them volunteers. All right. So when all these volunteers get together and work together, if you create a movement, what is this movement about? I will explain in another video in details, but generally people need another option other than the traditional financial system, or the bold word to me is probably the aim is to disrupt the bank. And no one can print Bitcoin out of thin air. When it's created, it's only have about 21 million Bitcoin in the entire ecosystem. It is programmed mathematically. No one can change the code. No one can print more Bitcoin for them out of thin air. Everybody have to work to earn their rewards, which is Bitcoin. So to work means you have to mine it. So all these elements that I stated here is what some of the things that reflect that Bitcoin is truly decentralized. The entire crypto system, cryptocurrency industry now has more than 2,000 crypto and above. Some are very good projects, some are weak projects, some are even scams. In fact, project that will fail and scam projects is more than probably definitely more than 50%. So which project is the most decentralized? Everyone in the crypto community will know that Bitcoin is the number one in terms of the characteristic of decentralized. Why? Because you go back to the slide that I mentioned just now because of all these characteristics. Okay. All the other crypto include Ethereum, EOS, the etc. Other crypto. They have a centralized management team. Some have their own product or services. Some have founded a company, like Neo, and some even have tie with the banks and has certain regulation like XRP. Definitely most of it have a founder or a group of founders and have an office. Means if SHTF, shit hit the fans, and government agency or the banks want to shut down a project, they can literally go to their office, go to the team members, force them to shut down the operation, to abandon the project by force or by threaten or by laws. Okay, whichever way that they find is effective. But can you do that to Bitcoin? I will say no. Or it will be really hard for them, nearly to zero chance of possibility of shut down the entire Bitcoin network, because you cannot find anyone who is responsible for it. You cannot find a single company. All are volunteers, alright? All are normal human beings. You cannot just force the volunteers to stop what they are doing. Okay? And these volunteers are literally segregated around every corner of the world. Some are in their house, some are in their basement, some hide in their bunkers, some are in their lab, in their studio, or inside a big factory. It's nearly impossible for any centralized agency at the same time, same day, shut down every people who involved in the Bitcoin ecosystem. It is just impossible. So that's why Bitcoin has survived for about more than 10 years now. Since the beginning of 2008, 2009, people don't give a s about this project until it used for trading in the dark market. The agency start to raise eyebrow, and they kind of want to, in a way, shut it down and announce that it is illegal. And the mainstream media literally say that Bitcoin is for drugs, is for money laundering, because technically that's the best they can do. They why don't they shut it down and kill it? They can't. So the only thing they can do is to spread the news that Bitcoin is for the criminal. At that time, at around 2014 2013 if not mistaken, and Bitcoin is a scam and money laundering, etc. So hope that not much people will notice it and have a bad impression on it, and no one will adopt this Bitcoin to become a new asset class, a store of value or medium of exchange. Okay, they're pretty successful in that. It's been 10 years now. It's still less than, I think, 5%, 3% population who are really involved or have study about Bitcoin. It's really less. So this remind me for one of the most important word or elements in this definition of decentralized is unconfiscated. All right, in some way Bitcoin is unconfiscated. Literally, any agency or human being could not confiscate your Bitcoin if you yourself say no to them, unless they point a gun at you and ask you to surrender the Bitcoin or send the Bitcoin to them, and you willingly, send it to them, or give them your passphrase or whatever. If not, without you say yes, without your you revealing what's your passphrase is, it is impossible to confiscate your Bitcoin, your value, your hard-earned money. All right. So this is one of the most important characteristic of Bitcoin, and is one of the most powerful characteristic in the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general. Just imagine the wealth that you have in fiat currency in the bank. Let's say you deposit a big amount, maybe 100k you have in your bank. You are having a special account that nobody, not even the bank themselves who provide you the storage facilities, not even the government, not even any entity can confiscate your wealth, okay, and have all the elements which you see here. Okay, what do you think of that? So this is what makes Bitcoin so unique, and is a very, very strong alternative for alternative currency for people who want it or for people who need it. Okay, again, I'm not I just stated facts. I'm not encourage anyone to invest or to buy or to throw your money in it. I just stated the facts. Okay, so this is my analysis that Bitcoin characteristic. One of the most important is nature, which is decentralized nature. Okay, again, my name is Andrew from Crypto Asia. Thanks for listening. Over and out.